Mike Rogers. You told the Washington Post that Trump's time has passed and the Trump movement was clearly destructive just last year. Now you claim to be a Trump Republican. Have your views changed, and if so, what prompted the change?
You know, there's only one person that counts in all of this debate, and that's Donald Trump. We've had lots of conversations, you bet, about how we get things fixed. And so when you look about things that he wants to get accomplished, he believes, and I believe, I'm the right guy to walk in the first day and get it done. That's the only one that matters. Thank you, Troy.
Yeah, so I know some of your opponents have gone after you a little bit in the recent days, weeks, in terms of your stance on, intelligence. So what is your stance on intelligence? A lot of times, I have great respect for law enforcement, the FBI, and everything else, and all the work that they do that's good. But what about the people, the patriots like us in this room that the FBI are going after?
Yeah. So, one of the two things. On the intelligence budget, there's only been one person that's ever cut the intelligence budget at the height of a conflict, and that was me. I took 10% out of that budget, number one, because we found waste and abuse. When I was chairman, you never found any of these problems. And the president and I have had these conversations. You have a two-tiered system of justice that's been created that is an FBI I do not recognize. I don't recognize that FBI. And I know how to fix it. So we can go in and get them refocused on things that matter versus showing up at school board meetings, versus having organizations use their authority to go after people who shop at Cabela's as a note. The FBI actually had an analyst who I think should be fired, put together a memo based on people being Catholic. That is just so unheard of and foreign to the FBI that I served in. And what we're going to have to do is very quickly flip this around. Some people say eliminate the FBI, and again, the president and I had a conversation on this. I think there's a better way to fix it and just get it back to doing what it used to do, which is really effective for safety and security. And given the complexity of threats coming at the United States today, everything from cybersecurity, Chinese are going after us in space. They're coming after our intellectual property. They tried to shut down the ports in Hawaii, by the way, through a cyber attack. We need the FBI focused on the issues at hand.
We need to eliminate the leadership of the FBI.
Okay, next question, please.
All of them.
Mike Rogers, you supported the Iraq and Afghanistan wars that failed. Have you changed your position, and would you support more wars like these if you were in the Senate?
Yeah.
So I don't believe in military adventurism. I think it's dangerous. You can applaud that. And so two things that you look at: being engaged in the world, being entangled in the world. If you look at the decisions that Biden has made, we are now entangled in the Middle East in a way that's very dangerous for the United States and our future in any conflict. Now, let me give you a few reasons exactly how he did this. We had a partner in Saudi Arabia who was actually pushing back on the Houthis. Right? Biden came in and said, no. This is undoing some of the Trump efforts on all of this. That caused a serious problem. It allowed the Houthis to gain strength. And who was behind that? Iran. And Iran got a free pass from the Biden administration when they allowed them to sell oil in the market, gave them billions of dollars they didn't have under the really restrictive sanctions under Trump, right? That's the second problem. When you looked at the Afghan withdrawal, an absolute embarrassing disaster for the United States of America that cost 13 service people their lives. Yeah, I mean, it's dangerous. And then we left all the equipment there. So you have to be engaged in the world, not entangled in the world. You do that by strength. Our military now is smaller than our U.S. Navy is smaller than the Chinese Navy. Our Army is smaller than the Chinese Army. The way you stay out of conflict is being as strong as you can, and you want a military that is the biggest, baddest in the world that no one wants to mess with. It's hard to say that today, and I have a son in the United States Navy serving today. Right? This is pretty serious business, but that's how you stay out of conflict by making us strong enough that we don't have to use our military. That's exactly where we should go.
Braden? Hi, so in addition to saying that Trump's time had passed, you said he was clearly destructive and that Biden was lawfully elected to the presidency. In addition, when asked about the J6 prisoners who are unlawfully being held, you compared them all to rioters and said they should all go to jail. And then you said we have to move on. Mr. Rogers, why should the people in this room not move on from you?
Well, that's certainly an option. But then you start working against the president who needs to get elected here in this state, number one, right? Just like Ron DeSantis came across and President Trump welcomed him with open arms. He said some unkind things. One of the things we have to understand that in primaries, and matter of fact, I know there's quite a few people, including you, with another campaign. That's great. I want you on board when this is over. You know why? Because if we're not together, the differences that we have are tiny. The differences we have with the Democrats and what they want to do to the United States if they get another session or another 4 years with a president and they control the United States Senate is terrifying. Look at what Adam Schiff said he wants to do with the majority of the United States Senate. So we had two people actually protecting the filibuster. Two. You know who they were? Sinema and Manchin, thank you, from West Virginia. They're leaving. That means we have no Democrats to protect the filibuster. You say, well, what does that mean for us? Who cares? It means that they are going to put in place, and read Adam Schiff's, manifesto or whatever the heck it was. This guy run from California, who we've already seen screw up the Intelligence Committee by making it highly partisan and political. They want to make Washington, D.C. a state, right? That's 2 permanent Democrat senators you'll never get rid of, number one. And the other thing they want to do is start packing the court. They want to take the court from 9 to 13 so that we will never get a conservative constitutionalist opinion off of the Supreme Court of the United States. If you don't think that's dangerous for the future of the United States, man, you got another thing coming. That's why it's so important. That's why the President of the United States, Donald Trump, said, I need you to win the state of Michigan with me. Remember that, with me. You can do all the quotes you want for the next hour and a half with me to win the state so that we can get after these really big, important issues and protect America for the future.
Thank you for coming out. What has been your past relationship with the Council on Foreign Relations, and do you support that organization?
So I gave speeches to the Council of Foreign Relations before. In New York, when we were talking about issues of kind of national intelligence, a lot of energy work, because I passionately believe if we're not energy independent, we will be entangled in the world. And the Biden administration is driving that down on purpose. So you pay more for your gas, by the way. And now we're also energy. The President of the United States had to go to Saudi Arabia and beg for oil. We have oil. By the way, some great technology coming out on getting into shale wells. And it doesn't require the water that it does today, which will be a fundamental game changer for the United States. I'm pretty excited about. They're just going out for their first fundraising round to come in to be able to get energy on shale. So that's the kind of thing. I went up and gave speeches. I spoke to a lot of different kind of groups, and I believe, by the way, you should speak to groups you disagree with.
So
that's the only way we're going to grow our numbers.
So you don't support them, or you do?
I don't have an opinion either way, other than I spoke to them.
Rogers, I'd like to go back to the question about the police state that we find ourselves living in the United States today. I know you addressed this a little bit earlier, but we have all kinds of J6 people political prisoners who are being persecuted. We have the 16 electors from the state of Michigan who are being prosecuted with felonies, and we have attorneys. We have attorneys who are being gone after. Right now, there's a big case. I don't know if you're familiar with it, with Stephanie Lambert in Michigan, and her crime apparently is going after election fraud. So I'd like to know your thoughts on that. I'd like to know what you have done or what you will do to change the status of the police state that we find ourselves living in.
Yeah, so, and I've said often on the trail, if you assault a police officer, I believe you should go to jail, number one. But number two, what we're seeing with the Biden administration is this 2-tiered justice system that I have just never quite seen in my lifetime. As somebody who dedicated my life to law enforcement, risked my life going through doors to arrest Colombian drug dealers and gangsters, I've just never quite seen something like this. And when you look at what happened to the president in New York, unbelievable, unprecedented, and we can't let it stand. And so we have to get after this two-tiered system of justice. The best thing that I can do when I get to the Senate, and this is the good news, I have the credibility to drag people in by their collars, and I know how to do it as a former chairman, to drag people in from Department of Justice and the FBI to put this thing straight, including this new analytical core that worries me a lot. They're the ones that are coming up with the things that it just is mind-blowing to me, that you can pick Catholics and say Catholics might be a problem, or you can pick people who shop at Cabela's as a problem. We've got to get that turned around and back. And again, one of the ways I think you do that after a good old-fashioned administrative cleaning of personnel is get them refocused on the problems that we know are affecting us. The distribution network of fentanyl is killing Americans every single day in this country. We got to be really aggressive about refocusing them on those actions.
Remove, not refocus. Remove them. Take the
I
leadership.
said remove the leadership, but refocus the Bureau's effort.
My second question.
One second.
I'd like to ask the people around the bar to please lower the volume. We're trying to do a Q&A session here, so thank you.
My second question, I hope all the young Republicans out there listen into the second question I'm about to ask, as well as everyone else. According to the Trading with the Enemy Act, 1933, under that act, the Constitution was suspended, all laws in America were suspended, all property is that of the state, and all citizens of America are enemy combatants. My question here, and I base this on a ruling from a judge out of Ann Arbor, is the Trading with the Enemy Act still being enforced here today? And if so, how is it not an act of treason or insurrection on the part of every public functionary that is enforcing it?
So who's that to?
Mike, either Mike or the sheriff.
Let's leave it.
Mike, we need you back here.
Well, it's a good question.
Here, I'll answer again. That refers to a federal statute, which would have nothing to do with what I would be handling, and I would have no authority to do anything regarding it.
Well, it eliminates the borders. If they suspend the Constitution under that act as being enforced, we don't have a border. That's why we have an open border. That's why I want to know, is it being enforced? According to a judge in Ann Arbor, it is.
I think we lost the judge, the sheriff and the congressman.
Great.
I'm here to